breaking news are happening now.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Reality Flash. My name is Mike Bloom, and I'm here to bring you the flashiest breaking news in the wide world of reality TV. Today, we are going full up frontal. Yes, the Upfronts have just ended. A whole week-long experience extravaganza of myriad networks revealing their programming coming up for the upcoming broadcast year. And of course, you know that means plenty of reality TV news. And that's what I'm here to do. We did this last year, and so thought it only makes sense if, in a manner of speaking, I renewed it for another year. So if you did not listen to last year's edition of this, or you may not remember, and you don't know what an upfront is, I am down bad for upfronts. Essentially, what they are is this series of programming where a variety of networks ranging from, I would say the big four of broadcast TV, which is CBS, NBC, Fox, and ABC, as well as, miscellaneous networks like Netflix or even, separate entire services like YouTube will hold these events, usually fairly star-studded, blown out to the wazoo for God knows what reason, just to build hype, I suppose, to announce programming that they have coming up. Usually, the official rationale behind this is to basically promote the content to potential advertisers. So said advertisers will buy ad space for all of these shows whenever they may pop up. What I would compare it to for you gamers out there is like, in theory, it's sort of like an E3 of TV, a TV3, if you will, where it's not, necessarily all of them gathering in one place, but it's kind of communally agreed that for a brief portion of time, most of these media conglomerates will put forward these presentations as to what they have going on in the near and far-flung future. Now, much like E3, for those that are really tapped into the history of that convention, it's become a little more siloed in recent years. It's not mandatory necessarily, Dan Lembo style, to have to do something during Upfronts week. One major example of this is Paramount. Now, Paramount certainly will have an appearance in the form of the Warner Brothers Discovery presentation that happens towards the end of the week. But CBS did their own sort of upfront presentations. I think they called it CBS Fest a couple of weeks back. But we've got a lot of the other heavy hitters over the course of this week. And so what I thought it'd be proper to do is just kind of go through chronologically. So, in order of the network's presentation, and go through what the biggest hits are, specifically from a reality TV perspective. And again, I will say that this is not necessarily covering stuff that is coming in the fall in a few months' time, but sort of encompassing the whole year, maybe even beyond in the case of, again, some of these streaming services. And even though Paramount, again, did not necessarily make a big appearance, there was one piece of major news, especially in these specific streets, that we will certainly get to at the end for the uninitiated. But let's start from the very beginning of this week, which just felt like a year ago. Let's start with NBC Universal, which of course includes Bravo and includes Peacock. So I'm just going to read off, summaries, press releases from a wide variety of things here. Some of them are incredibly detailed. Some of them are incredibly scant in the intel that is given. But I'm going to try to give you sort of the bare bones, what you need to know about each of this stuff. Let's start with this fall, because The Voice is reaching a milestone here. Season 30, of course, as predicted, will air in the fall. And they have officially revealed the judges. I think they announced like Adam Levine a while back. Kelly Clarkson was like late last week, maybe. But now we officially have the other two people sitting in those ginormous chairs, and they are both new to the Voice franchise. The first one announced was Riley Green. Riley Green is a country artist. I feel like we have not had like a male country artist on the show in a while. Of course, Blake Shelton is really the shining beacon example, especially from a perspective of, like, as many say, the voice is just about the judges. Like, Blake Shelton, consummate example of that. I'm not speaking out of turn, I don't think, despite not being a country person, when I say that, like, good God, that man's entire celebrity profile increased as tall as his height over the course of participating in The Voice for so many years. I think it's been a while. We had Dan and Shay, I think, a few years back. So here comes Riley Green, repping it for the country artist. For those who do not know, it was certainly myself up until I did some cursory research here. So again, Riley Green is a very successful country singer. He has released 3 albums so far. I am sure he is incredibly successful in what he does, and people absolutely love him. The more I read this Wikipedia synopsis of his career so far, he does low-key seem like an AI-generated country artist of, like, okay, yeah, it does make sense that the only photo used in this article is of him rocking a cap that just says biscuits in 72-point font printed across the top. Yeah, it does make sense that he had a song that charted called, quote, "I wish grandpas never died." You know what? This is pretty customary. I don't know a lot about country music, but this tracks for me. And the other person that will be joining him is someone who has put down quite a few tracks in her time, though people might not realize it because for the better part of, like, 2 decades, she has more so been known as a scene stealer than a songstress. But Queen Latifah is going to be the 4th member of the judges panel. Very excited for this. Again, I think a lot of people more so recognize her for her work on Chicago, obviously got nominated for an Emmy for that. I think she was in Living Single. We've got, like, Bringing Down the House. I remember it was a favorite in my household back in the day. And of course, we have Taxi with legendary Survivor fan Jimmy Fallon. But people may not realize that Queen Latifah was a very successful recording artist. Real ones remember UNITY. That thing won a Grammy. She is a slashy, to put it mildly. She knows her way around a tune. And she also won an Emmy, I believe, for playing Bessie Smith as well. So she still has that those music roots, no matter how tall that tree may grow. So this is really exciting as well, because I imagine, of course, she has an incredibly camera-ready personality, but this allows her to probably tap into parts of her career and talent set that she has not explored in quite some time. So very interesting mishmash of celebs as per usual, but that is not the only exciting reality TV that is going to be on NBC this fall. Now, this is something that I talked about last year, that they are going to be 2 seasons of the Traitors USA this year. Of course, our customary celebrity-filled season happening in the beginning of this year on Peacock, but we are officially rolling out a civilian version of the Traitors US. I don't know if it's filmed at the time I'm recording this. It might soon be over the course of the summer, but we do know it'll be a bit of a quick turnaround time because it will be airing on NBC this fall at 8 p.m. on Thursday. Still sticking with that Traitors Thursdays. Love the alliteration. Love the branding. What is interesting about this, and shout out to, of course, reality TV __ fan for his inimitable coverage of all things unscripted out there in the universe. But what they noticed was that it's not really branded anything different. Like, when you look at the schedule, it says The Traitors. There's no Traitors civilian version, Traitors normies, whatever sort of I was going to say colonizing, I suppose, that they usually do around these special types of spinoffs. And I believe reality TV __ fan said that technically they're counting this as season 5 of the show. And that's really interesting to me. I mean, I guess this is The Apprentice, like, sort of did this, I think, where, you know, when they started doing the Celebrity Apprentice, it was like it counted as like, okay, well, that's season 7 of The Apprentice before it finally like spun off into its own thing. So for right now, the Civilian Traders is going to be season 5, and then next year, Celebrity version is going to be season 6. I mean, my intrigue is going to be if this is successful, which hopefully it is, and they continue to produce 2 versions every year. So now we are just vacillating back and forth, but still operating under the Traitors umbrella. And we need one because it is always quite rainy in Scotland. Well, speaking of the Traitors, I want to talk about one of its alumni and how she's making the news by taking the spot of another alumni here. So Love Island is coming up very soon. Cannot wait for that, June 2nd. But unfortunately, it will be missing a familiar face, as Love Island After Sun, for those of you who are not informed, is this big weekly after show hosted typically by the one and only Maura Higgins. She will not be providing her fantastic Irish lilt this time around. Now, last year, she did miss most of it because she was filming The Traitors. This time, she will not be making a return appearance. And ordinarily, you would think, okay, this makes sense. For those who do not know, Maura was one of the first people announced to be participating in this fall's edition of Dancing with the Stars. So you could say, okay, maybe this is like something with the contract. She wants to get started early. Maybe she's trying to get, travel and other obligations out of the way over the summer because her fall is going to be hopefully booked and blessed. But then I looked at who's replacing her on After Sun. So the first person is Teffy Pessoa, who is a media personality. I think she had hosted like a talk show on Prime Video. Obviously has the gift of gab. But the other person is someone who has become maybe a main character in the past few editions here of the Reality Flash. Sierra Miller of Summer House, also of Dancing with the Stars. I am very intrigued by this because clearly this means that maybe it doesn't necessarily involve anybody vying for the Mirror Ball trophy. If they're like, all right, well, Maura, if you're going to be on Dancing with the Stars, we'll just replace you with the other person that was announced to be on Dancing with the Stars. And it's also interesting that Sierra, I'm trying to remember, I know some people from Summer House did cameos in a couple of challenges last year. Was Sierra one of them? I'll have to look it up, even though now like the algo's crowded with news about her and Love Island. But it's a bit of a bold choice as well, considering that After Sun hosts so far have largely been people who were alumni of the Love Island franchise, including Maura. This is not necessarily the case, but much like the Inspire casting of Ariana Madix as the host, I think NBC Universal kind of likes collecting the jilted Bravo Leb lovers here to be like, we're going to give you this ability to be able to be to have a little cathartic, perhaps, to be able to vent about how men do not behave in the best way. This is perhaps the best venue to do so and make a little cheddar along the way. So yeah, we're going to have Sierra and Teffy the entire summer hosting Love Island After Sun, but it does make me very interested to see what Maura might be up to over the course. Maybe she's taking her Birkin bag on a worldwide trip. Well, I want to finish our NBC Universal section here by talking about a couple of exciting new series, both of which I believe are coming to Bravo. It's tough to know how much they're really dissolving their content between Peacock and Bravo. It's a good problem to have. But let's start, speaking of Ariana, let's talk about her origin show here with a Vanderpump Rules spinoff, Lisa Las Vegas. Here is the description of what this new show will entail. Lisa Vanderpump has been ruling over the Las Vegas Strip for years now, with 3 hotspot restaurants serving up chic cocktails in her signature whimsical settings. Now I want to feel like it's like Alice in Wonderland is usually what I think of when I hear the word whimsical. Now she's expanding her Vegas empire through the opening of her high-profile namesake hotel. In this limited series, we follow the behind-the-scenes dash to make the property worthy of the Vanderpump brand. LVP God, that is incredible that that's what her initials spell out. Shares what inspired her newest enterprise and pulls back the curtain on the Down to the Wire drama. The series will culminate at the Vanderpump Hotel's lavish opening party with fan favorite Bravo celebrities celebrating the launch. So, if you want more LVP, I suppose this series will be the MVP for you. And yeah, intrigued to see her go into hotel design. I don't know why the first thing I think of is Trixie Motel. But if I had a nickel every time a reality star had an entire dedicated spinoff around refurbishing some sort of derelict hotel, I suppose I'd have 2 nickels, which I think maybe could maybe get 1 foot in the door here at the Vanderpump Hotel. But let's get to this other one because this may have another surprising reality TV connection outside of what the description entails. This has a working title right now of Secrets, Lies, Texas Wives. If this is not abundantly clear from the jump, even if this is not the real McCoy in terms of title, this is Bravo's take on Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I think they are trying to cash in on the mom talk brand. There's no mention of the term here, but give a listen and see if it sounds a little familiar to you. In the heart of Texas Hill Country is the picture perfect town of Boerne. Is it Boerne? Where wealth, beauty, faith, and family reign supreme. Centered on a tight-knit circle of glamorous women, this series follows their lives as they raise families, run ranches and farms, and manage sparkling social calendars in a town rooted in rodeos and tradition. Behind the polished smiles and Sunday sermons, however, there are intimate relationships and forbidden romance that test loyalties and marriages, jeopardizing the town's pristine image and proving that perfection is far more complicated than anyone could imagine. So yeah, sounds like they're trying to cash in on something around mom talk or like a community of moms, which is actually kind of ironic because I feel like Secret Lives of Mormon Wives was developed as Hulu's version of Housewives. So now it's kind of become full circle in this giant multi-network game of telephone. But what is most interesting about this is that when the news was reported, Kat Dunn of Big Brother and most recently The Amazing Race started spilling some good old Texas tea over on Twitter. She posted, okay, so T, Bravo filmed a pilot with me and my friends in Dallas, but they ended up going with this one in Boerne, and don't shoot the messenger, but I heard Aaron Grease is on this one. Yes. Racism's own Aaron Grease. For those who do not know, Aaron must be one of the most controversial house guests in Big Brother history. And good God, that is saying a lot. That statement alone. At this point, God, 13 years ago, Big Brother 15 was embroiled in scandal, namely through a tragic number of racist remarks, racist actions, microaggressions, really just the laundry list. And Aaron was, I guess, a big fan of Bleach from that perspective as well, and that she was definitely one of the worst perpetrators. And again, that is saying a lot from Big Brother 15's perspective. This is one of the rare moments where like Julie Chen Moonves like called out her comments. She was one of the handful of people who have gotten booed walking out of the Big Brother house. She had gotten fired from her job, but it seems like she has landed on her feet. For those that have not kept up with Aaron in the intervening years, of which I do not blame you whatsoever, she has become sort of this mommy influencer. She is Aaron Williams now, and I believe there was some rumors even a few years back of her attempting to start her own mom talk circle in Texas. And I don't know how far off the ground that got, but this certainly did. So we shall see if Kat is speaking the truth here as to whether or not Aaron will be on this show. I hope it starts with her just downing shot glasses of nail polish remover. That would just, God, that would tickle me to no end. Let's move on to Fox, shall we? We'll briefly spend a bit of time on Fox, a network that I'm sure Aaron agrees closely associates herself with for various reasons. But we didn't have that much actually from Fox because, they really renewed a bunch of different shows, but they didn't really announce anything out of the ordinary. Some of their more like serialized reality shows like Extracted, Fear Factor, House of Fear, Masked Singer. Once again, they're going to be mid-season, so we're not going to see them until 2027. That's an interesting strategy where a lot of their unscripted things, The Floor and all of these other game shows are going to be airing in the fall, and they're saving kind of their more mainstay weekly shows for the spring. But if you're a fan of any of those shows, you're going to have to wait until the calendar page turns to check out new versions of it. I was intrigued by this one show that was announced. I cannot see if it's confirmed if it's fall or spring yet, but it's a new show called Marriage Mart, hosted by actress, comedian, and podcaster Whitney Cummings. Marriage Mart welcomes singles who are officially over swiping, ghosting, and endless first dates into an actual marriage market where they're up for trying something radical, putting their love lives in the hands of family members that know them best and risking it all for one shot at forever in an arranged marriage. Essentially, this sounds like 90 Day Fiancé meets Supermarket Sweep. And God, I hope it ends with one big mad dash through the marriage mart, just grabbing prospective partners off the shelf, including giant inflatable Snapple cans to see how much money they are able to accumulate at the very end of it. David Ruprecht will maybe give away a trip to Bermuda or something like that. Let's get into Amazon, because Amazon's got some interesting stuff going on from a reality TV perspective, and it brings me all the joy in the world to announce that Jury Duty is officially back for season 3. The only time that people would love to return to the idea of Jury Duty. Of course, we had Jury Duty Presents Company Retreat season 2. Jenny Autumn and I covered it on this network. If you didn't check it out, that was a lot of fun. I do think they were able to make lightning strike twice, and now they're going for thrice here. We do not know what the concept is going to be. Jenny and I actually spoke about that at the end of our last podcast as to possible ideas. I had suggested some sort of like event planning situation, maybe even like a wedding, because that has the ability to involve a lot of different wacky parties and characters. I'm not entirely sure. Now I kind of feel bad for people who are going to be like staking out these job applications or employment listings and be like, am I going to get jury dutied if I apply to this? I mean, listen, look at what happened to Anthony's life after this. You could do a lot worse than getting jury duty, but maybe an unintentional consequence is ramping up the paranoia of people who want to walk into unknown social situations, which is the last thing we want right now. But let's talk about, listen, as I've spoken about many, many times over this podcast and others, we are in the era of all-star reality TV. Between Traitors, House of Villains, Dancing with the Stars, we have really brought back this idea of these various shows that serve as a Super Smash Brothers of unscripted, bringing in various people from various networks, environments, shows under one roof, sometimes literally, to see how they mix and mingle with one another. And there is another one served up in front of us, courtesy of Prime Video, called, working title again, Reality Retreat. Let's see what this says. Set in a tropical location, the series follows a group of women whose lives in the spotlight have made them icons, villains, and tabloid fixtures. Removed from their comfort zones, they embark on an immersive experience centered on healing, accountability, and transformation. This sounds like a simultaneous, more and less sanitized version of like this show that Spencer Bledsoe, aka Ryman's, trying to make of like people, reality stars going to Ecuador and tripping in ayahuasca. Through intense wellness rituals, unfiltered truth-telling exercises, still scans here, and emotionally charged confrontations, each participant must reckon with who they are beyond their public persona. As chaos, comedy, and catharsis unfold in equal measure. At the retreat, growth is not guaranteed. Old habits resurface, alliances fracture, and egos collide. With their place in the experience constantly at risk, each woman must decide whether to embrace evolution or leave unchanged. I do not know if some of these people believe in evolution. But regardless, let's go through the announced cast of Reality Retreat. So we've got 3 housewives here in Kenya Moore. Pause here. Okay, so to give you the rundown of who is going on this reality retreat, and remember, they are being advertised as icons, villains, and tabloid fixtures, which just makes that 3-way Venn diagram feel like one big old circle here. But they're divided sort of into a few different categories. Of course, we got to throw some housewives in here. And so we have Kenya Moore, Margaret Josephs, and Kim Zolciak. Kim Zolciak who will apparently attend the opening of an envelope. This has to be like the 2nd or 3rd reality show that she is on this year. Absolutely wild, because I think she's on the Housewife Girls Trip 20th anniversary, right? And then she's also one of the celebrities on Squid Game Season 3. She might actually be, sorry, Sierra, she might be the main character of the Reality Flash as of late. But we also have a couple of other reality TV mainstays. Christine Quinn from Selling Sunset. Of course, Brittany Cartwright from the Vanderpump universe. Wonder if she's coming straight from LVP's hotel. And Celebrity Big Brother winner, Tamar Braxton. I'm very excited for this, especially from the confrontation part. If you remember watching Celebrity Big Brother Season 2, you know that Tamar Braxton, hopefully she is wearing her giant Jury LaForge visor while she's getting into arguments with people, is never one to walk away from a heated conversation. We have a couple of former Bachelorette leads in Caitlin Bristow and Jen Tran. And then we take a little bit of a left turn here as we got, I guess, straight out of prison and straight into the retreat, Julie Chrisley and her daughter Savannah, of course, from Chrisley Knows Best and Tax Evasion. And rounding out the group, the Alice of this very odd, bastardized Brady Bunch, Hilaria Baldwin. Maybe this was some sort of make good by way of Disney for her feeling like she was kicked out of Dancing with the Stars, that it was rigged, that she was given this other opportunity to appear. But I am incredibly excited to see what types of conversations will happen and if anyone will ask her what her true accent is. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the concept of this is supposed to be, or if this is even filmed, or if any of these people will make it out of where they're going alive. Regardless, it is going to be a hot mess no matter what. And then let's finish off a lot of the big news here in terms of our networks with perhaps the biggest media conglomerate of it all, Disney. Now, Disney in particular, of course, Dancing with the Stars has become one of their most prominent and revitalized franchises as of late. They were literally front and center. Robert Irwin made a stateside appearance here. Will also be serving as the host of Dancing with the Stars, The Next Pro. Apparently, there was this like big celebration in the middle of the presentation with 40 pros from Dancing with the Stars. But the most pertinent thing from this entire presentation from a DWTS perspective is that we now have a 3rd member of our cast. I do love this. I know I made the Super Smash Brothers analogy beforehand, but God, it is so on the nose. Can I actually ask a favor of the incredibly talented audience that is listening to me jabber on about reality TV for years at this point? Can someone make like a Smash Brothers entrance graphic for Maura and Sierra and our 3rd person here? You know, like Fox joins the fray, or like Joker's wild on the scene. If you know, you know. I would love to see that happen. Obviously, I don't think ABC would do it due to copyright infringement, but God, it would just be so, it would tickle my fancy personally, and hopefully some other fancies as well. And if you fancy yourself a very specific version of sports, I should say, you will be very excited for the newest member of the Dancing with the Stars cast. Of course, we are starting to get into the summer months, and this guy is going to have an incredibly busy summer, traveling around the country, flipping for our delight. I don't remember if he does flips in particular, if he has some sort of other superhuman talent while also playing baseball at the same time. It is, of course, one of the many stars of the fan favorite Savannah Bananas, Jackson Olsen. So for those who don't know, Jackson, I think, is the second baseman, I want to say, for the Savannah Bananas. And if you are unacquainted with who they are, I'm not going to go as far to say it's like the Harlem Globetrotters meets baseball, because, like, unlike the games between the Globetrotters and the Generals, there's not any sort of like pseudo scripted outcome. Like, they are legitimately playing baseball. It's just they're more so going by like very different rules. It's like the XFL compared to the NFL, or if you played like NFL Street versus Madden. I'm making so many freaking video game references. I apologize for all the hairs that have been tussled loose from the amount of times it's gone over people's heads at this point. But essentially like a similar version of the sport, but they add a butt ton of new rules. They limit it to a 2-hour game, and there's especially they have extra points for trick play. So these guys are also like natural entertainers. In between every inning, they're singing, they're dancing, they're putting on a show from a sport that I think many argue usually involves just kind of sitting there and watching people stand around until a ball gets hit to them. But Jackson, I think, is also like a big social media star as well. And we know most recently with Alex Earl that is Charlie D'Amelio, of course, is definitely a demographic, certainly since Charlie's success as well, that they really want to tap into. I am excited about this because, like, I don't know. I immediately know the Savannah Bananas. It is one of my son's favorite teams in general. We have a bit of iconography, but like I can think of a couple of people who I would probably Family Feud style say is more notable than Jackson Olsen, but I might be talking out of my rear end here. I'm sure Jackson has many, many followers, and regardless, a banana ball star on there is what matters at the end of the day. I'm intrigued to see what kind of demo this is going to bring in. I will say they missed an opportunity, though. Maybe this will happen next year. Get the guy on the stilts on Dancing with the Stars, but he has to be on the stilts, and partner him with Daniela. I'm so sorry, Daniela, but that needs to happen. But regardless, 3 down, several more to go. We shall see if we'll get more in drips and drabs over the summer. I believe last year, I think it was 4 people that were announced. It was Robert Irwin, the aforementioned Alex Earl, and then Whitney and Jen from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. But I don't think we got anybody else until the actual cast announcement, which is happening this year on, I believe, September 2nd. So it might be a long, long summer. But hey, if you want to while away the hours and perhaps get a preview of who we're going to be watching tear up the dance floor this fall, maybe attend a Savannah Bananas game near you. There is one more major piece of a reality TV news to close out my own Upfront presentation, but ironically enough, it did not come from the Upfronts whatsoever, because it comes all the way back to Paramount. And again, they had their own presentation a couple weeks ago where they made announcements for a lot of great programming they have coming up, but there was one particular thing that fans of CBS reality TV, particularly in the summer, were jonesing for: a premiere date for Big Brother 28. And finally, after waiting the equivalent of when they dressed up as flowers in Big Brother 10 and had to sit there and have water drip on their face for an hour in that veto competition, at last you can sit up out of your flower bed and look alive and start to bloom, for lack of a better term, because we have news. Big Brother 28 will be premiering with a 90-minute episode on Thursday, July 9th. This is proper timing for what we've been getting as of late. We do not know when the finale is. I think some people, very intrepid Big Brother fans, unsurprisingly, people have already taken to their various calculators, forensic analysis to be able to figure out when the finale could possibly be. I think we're looking around, again, late September, early October, if the schedule is the same. And they're touting this now, stop, you've heard this before, as the biggest Big Brother season ever. At least this time they qualify what that means, which is, I believe, this will be the most programming hours in Big Brother history. Now, maybe season 1 would like a word there. Might need some fact checking there. But listen, if you remember that particular guinea pig problem, you know that fact check is not necessarily something that Big Brother likes to be invested in entirely. But the reason why is that we are sticking with the same schedule as last year. So that's going to be Sunday, 8 p.m., 1 hour episode. Wednesday, 8 p.m., 90-minute episode. We're keeping the extended episodes there for the veto competition and potpourri, I suppose. And then 1 hour Thursday eviction episode at 8 p.m. And what gives it a little bit of extra oomph is that Big Brother Unlocked is coming back. The newfound companion show that came out last year will actually be premiering the day after the premiere. So again, 90-minute premiere on July 9th. July 10th, we'll be getting the debut episode of this season of Big Brother Unlocked. There's not a lot of information about Unlocked outside of that, whether Derek Levasseur and Taylor Hale are going to be returning as hosts, how frequent it is going to happen, if we're going to bring in more celebrity superfans, if they're going with different angles. Are we going to get more wine or wine? That's really what I want to know. That's what I need to spend all my journalistic cachet on figuring out between now and July 10th. But yeah, if you were into that, if you like the extra clips, then you have an opportunity to actually see them up close and personal, because also it has been announced that there will be a live studio audience for Big Brother Unlocked. I do not know how this is going to work, because I believe in the past, last year at least, they filmed Unlocked like right after the live eviction episode. So I don't know if like the live audience for the eviction then just stays through and watches Unlock get taped, or are they doing an entirely different thing to get an audience in for Unlock? But regardless, whomever's going to be behind the desks, in the chairs, what's being discussed, it will be happening. So our weeks are about to become incredibly occupied in a little less than 2 months. We don't know too much outside of that, really nothing being hinted in terms of twists, possible decor. Will it be all-stars? Will it be new house guests? But all we know is a relative skeleton of things before the musculature and organs start getting filled in due time. And so I believe, unless I'm missing anything, that is going to be the end of all the news from the Upfronts this week. Again, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of renewed shows, a lot of new faces on renewed shows, a lot of new shows with renewed faces, for lack of a better term, a new face on Dancing with the Stars, new faces on The Voice, perhaps not only a Big Brother premiere date, but a Big Brother alum popping up in a completely new show. It's a fantastic time to be a reality TV fan, as always. And apologies if this is a little scattered, a little all over the place. I was trying to really, again, cram a week's worth of content into one bite-sized episode. I guess I'm the Big Brother Unlocked from that capacity, and hopefully I was able to deliver there. Of course, if I missed out on any details, I'm sure I did, whether it's details about these shows that we ran down, or like if there's any spare piece of news. I didn't really talk about anything from the YouTube upfront, or the Warner Brothers Discovery upfront, or the Netflix upfront. I didn't really think there was anything pertinent there, but if I missed anything, of course, let me know. And in general, I want you to reach out to me with any news you may have in these reality TV streets. No spam, no solicitations, just tips at therealityflash.com. I'm sure that the people working at LVP's hotel are also hustling for just tips. So yeah, any news that you might see out there, send it my way. I can try to go wall-eyed as much as I can, but even I can't capture everything in my scope. So let me know something if you want it discussed here on the Reality Flash. And while you're here, if you could just head on over to the Reality Flash, that'd be real swell. Leave a rating, leave a review. I know that we're almost a year and a half into this entire expedition, but I think given the breadth of content we explore, as I barely take a breath over the course of these types of episodes, there are people who are being exposed to this for the first time, this type of podcast. And so the more it gets ratings and reviews, particularly of the 5-star quality, the more this pops in the eyes, in the feeds of the looky-loos, of the uninitiated, to hopefully become initiated with all the malarkey I have in store. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Reality Flash. This has made me so pumped for what's to come. I know that we've got a whole ass, incredibly fun summer to get through, but fall cannot come soon enough with some of the stuff that is going to be down the pike and beyond. I'll be back in your eyes and ears soon with more reality TV news as it breaks. But until then, everybody, you've just been flashed.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.